Hello, and welcome to this video presentation. My name is Paul Brett. I am a Senior Software Support Analyst supporting the Link product from HCL. The topic for this video is XML to PDF mapping with Link. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn at Paul Brett IBM. For this practical demonstration, I used the JotForm website to create a fillable PDF with acroform fields. Head on over to jotform.com to create your own PDFs with acroform fields. I'm going to import the artifacts into Link. I'm then going to create a mapping of those fields in a map from the XML to the PDF. Then I'm going to execute and review the results. Let's start the practical demonstration. As you can see, I have a connection to my HCL Link design server version 1.1.1. Before I log in, a quick view of the JotForm web page. You can create a free account and then use the orange button here, Create Form, to get started with creating your own acroform enabled PDF templates. Back to the design server now, and let's log in. As you can see, there is only one project, the standard process orders project. I'm going to create a new project called XML to PDF. On my remote view of the server, you can see that I currently have no subdirectories under HIP files that indicate any project files are present. So we'll start with importing a file. I'm going to import my input.xml file. Back to the remote view of the server, and now you can see that I have a project subfolder, and if I go in there, there is my input.xml file. Let's have a quick look at that. As you can see, it is a simple account type XML showing an account number, a name, an address, and some monetary values: balance brought forward, charges, credits, and new balance. We'll come back to that later. Next step is to import the schema for the XML. The name of the schema is input.xsd. Okay, we have our input.xml and our input schema. We should be able to create the input side of the map now, no problem. So let's do that. From the Maps menu, we're going to choose New, and we're going to call it XML to PDF. From the structure, I'm going to create a source. I'm going to call it in1. I'm going to use a file adapter. File path is going to be input.xml. The schema is going to be input.xsd, and the type is going to be XSD. And that's our input card in the map now, ready to run. So let's save and build and run this map, just to confirm that we can read our input XML. And as you can see there, it says run complete. So we can read our input XML. Next step is to create our output card, which will be writing the PDF file. The first step is to create a connection. I'm going to click New. The connection type is going to be PDF acroform. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to call this PDF CONN1 and OK. So that's a connection. We're now going to perform the initial tasks of creating an action for a source, which will force the importer to create a couple of essential files for us. Before we do that, we need to import our PDF file. So I'm going to go into Files again and click New, click Browse, and I'm to grab the template.pdf that I created using the JotForms website. On the remote view of the server, you can see now that our project contains a template.pdf file, but no other files that begin with the word template. Let's go through the connection wizard and use that to force it to create two additional files. I'm going to go for New Action. I'm going to choose Source. Next. I'm going to put in here template.pdf. And in the schema file, I'm going to say I want template XSD. And if I click Next, and from the schema, I choose the same again, template.xsd, but rather than choosing a type, because this file doesn't exist yet, I'm going to click on Generate. The PDF importer runs, reads the file, and has now created the template XSD file for me. If we go back to the server view, we will now see that we have, as well as the template.pdf, we have a template.xsd file, which is also converted to a template.mtx, a pseudo type tree, and finally a template.names file. These files will become important when we actually create the output card later. For now, back to the Design Studio, and we'll cancel this wizard because we've used the create action to get what we need. Next step is to create an output card for our map. So from structure we choose target. We're going to call this output card out. PDF acro forms. Okay, so the PDF file we want to write is called output.pdf. The template file is called template.pdf. The schema is template.xsd, and the names file is template.names. Now, as you know, we imported this template PDF after creating it from the JotForm website. The XSD and the names file were created for us by the PDF importer wizard that we forced into creating it by temporarily running through the create action wizard. The schema, we're going to use template XSD, and the type is going to be XSD. We click OK. Okay, we have an output card on our canvas. We have an input card which we can right click and choose add to add that to our canvas, and we can expand all these fields on the input side, and we can see that we have potentially multiple rows, and each one of those rows could potentially contain a username and custom name and address. Now we already know that our file only contains one actual row, and on the output side the structure is designed such that it will only be able to create one PDF file. It would be possible to encapsulate this into a repeating group, to drop down to a run map, to send each row to create a PDF file, but we're going to keep it simple for today. So let's expand all of these objects. We've got global, we've got document, we've got sequence, and then we have everything we need. So I'm going to expand these rule boxes so that I can start filling them in. The first one I'm going to fill in is date. In the date field I'm going to put in a couple of formulas to put into today's date. Okay, in every other field I'm going to put a none for the moment. Okay, so that's my map temporarily complete. I've only got one rule. It's going to fill in the current date into the PDF form and create it. On my server view, you will note that I have no file called output.pdf. If I go back to my design server and build and run this map, on the server view you will note that I do now have a file called output.pdf, and if we open that you will see that it is our template with only the date filled in, 17th of the 4th, 22. That's great. So let's fill in some of the other rules. I'm going to delete the output file for now so that I can show it being created again at a later stage. After date, I'm going to bring in the account number into this field with a drag and drop. I'm going to bring in the balance brought forward with drag and drop into the appropriate place. Now you will note that when I build this map, it will build failure because the balance brought forward on the input side is a number, yet the balance brought forward field on the output side is text. So I'm going to need to go into the rule editor and surround this object with a text function to convert from number to text. I'm going to have to do the same to many of the other fields. Okay, so that's many more fields filled in. There's a final field that is just address to. It was a big address box that's supposed to contain the name and address of the person. Now on the input side this is made up from multiple fields. We have cust name, ADDR 1 to 4 and postcode. So I'm going to have to concatenate these 5 fields with a carried return line feed in between each field so that it all lines up nicely and fits into the box on the PDF. So here's the rule I created earlier, which I've copied to my clipboard, and I'm going to paste in now. As you can see, we have customer name, address 1, 2, 3 and 4 and postcode, and in between each one is a plus symbol to concatenate and a new line character. So that's the map complete. Let's save the map. We will build one more time. Before we run, I shall just show the server view again one more time. There is no output file here currently. And when we run the map, which completes successfully, on the server view we have an output.pdf, and if we open that, we can see that we have our account number in the correct place, we have our user's name and address in the correct box, the date, the balance brought forward, the energy charges, the energy payments, and the new account balance. So this PDF is ready to go to the customer. Admittedly, there are some formatting things that we could add to these entries so that they look like proper pounds and pence, but for now I'm going to call that a demonstration done. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my video presentation today. If you found the content interesting and informative, please hit that like button, comment, and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, as I release content such as this on a regular basis. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn at Paul Brett IBM. Thank you.